At Watches and Wonders back in April, Tudor released the Black Bay 54, and I put out a video saying how I thought this was such a great release. It was basically a modern reinterpretation of one of Tudor's most famous watches, the original Tudor Submariner, reference 7922 from 1954. Now, I don't know about you, but I'm terrible for getting caught up in the hype when a new watch is announced. But enough time has passed for that to have worn off, and just this week I had the opportunity to have a play with one in the metal. So I now feel that I can give you a properly objective view of it, and I also wanted to address some of the criticisms that I've seen from the armchair watch experts, as well as to answer the big question: do I still want one? So if you're new here, my name's Simon, and if you like watches, then why not consider subscribing to the channel? It won't cost you a penny, but it'll really help the channel to grow. And don't forget to click that bell icon to be notified when new videos drop. So I found the launch of the Black Bay 54 to be a little strange. I don't mean the watch, I mean the launch itself. I mean, this should have been a real milestone moment for the brand. I mean, basically a re-release of the original Tudor Submariner. But there just didn't seem to be the fanfare that I would have expected, and the response from the watch community seemed to be pretty mixed too. Opinions just seem to be really divided on this one, and I think it really all comes down to one thing: the size. Now that I've had the chance to get hands-on with the 54, I wanted to give you my thoughts on it, and also respond to some of the criticisms of it that I've seen online. So a common one is it's just a smaller Black Bay 58. Sure, at a glance the Black Bay 54 and the 58 have a lot of similarities, but apart from the size there are also some really subtle but important differences. So the Black Bay 54 has a 37mm case compared to the 39mm case of the Black Bay 58. I'll circle back to the whole thing about the size of the Black Bay 54 later, but while I didn't have a 58 on hand to directly compare, it doesn't feel like the watch has just been scaled down proportionally. The width of the bezel doesn't seem any different to how I remember it on the 58, but more importantly, nor does the overall length of the case, making the lugs on the 54 seem slightly more elongated, more like a vintage watch. The markings on the bezel are where you'll find some of the most obvious differences between the two. The bezel on the 54 has lost the minute scale between 0 and 15, and instead of a red triangle at 12, it's silver. In fact, all the bezel markings on the 54 are in silver, rather than the gilt of the 58, and the batten markings are also thicker. All of this might not seem like much, but I feel that they all add up to make the 54 look cleaner, more purposeful, more like a tool watch. Whereas when I see pictures of the 58 now, in comparison it looks dressier. The 54 also has a new smaller crown, with no visible crown tube, and it's more sharply knurled, more like the crown on the Black Bay Pro, but smaller and not as long. I actually wish that Tudor had used the same crown as on the Pro, as I found this one a little hard to grip. Finally, with the 54, whether you buy it on the bracelet or on this new rubber strap, you get the T-Fit clasp, which has on-the-fly micro adjustment. It's basically Tudor's version of glide lock, and it works really well. So the other main criticism about the Black Bay 54 seems to be that it's just too small. And in fact, when I did my reaction video when the watch was first announced, I even had some people in the comments saying that a 37mm watch is a girl's watch. I just don't get it. I mean, when it comes to watches, then within reason, there's no right or wrong size. Surely it's down to personal taste and what feels right on your wrist. I mean, my 11-year-old daughter likes wearing oversized hoodies. You know, most of them would probably fit me. But that's just what she likes. Now, if you follow the channel, you'll know that I've got small wrists, somewhere between 6¼ and 6½ inches. And even on my wrist, I expected the Black Bay 54 to feel small at 37mm. But it just felt perfect for me. That doesn't mean it's going to feel perfect for you. You've got to go and try these things and make up your own mind. I think I was expecting the size to affect the legibility. So to explain what I mean, if you've been following the channel, you'll know that last year I bought a Studio Underdog Desert Sky. Great watch, but that one's got a 38.5mm case. Now, it's a chronograph, so by necessity, it has quite a lot of small markings on the dial, such as a tachymeter scale. But because I'm long-sighted, I mean, I have to wear these just to be able to read the messages on my phone. It really affected the enjoyment of the watch. But with the 54 being a simple time-only 3-hand watch, I didn't have any such issues. And what I love about the Black Bay 54 is that Tudor's been brave enough to create a modern reissue of an iconic vintage dive watch, the 7922, at the same size as the original, even though most watches from 70 years ago would seem small by modern standards. They stayed true to the original rather than compromising on the size just to please more people. And I think that's why the Black Bay 54 appeals to me. I like watches with heritage, with a story, and with this one you get a modern, chronometer certified watch that's a pretty faithful reproduction of Tudor's very first dive watch. But do I still want one? Well, when I first saw the pictures of the 54 when it was announced at Watches and Wonders, I badly wanted one. And I particularly liked it on this rubber strap with the T-fit clasp. I mean, that's a bit like Tudor giving us a version of the Submariner on Oyster Flex. Having now had the chance to have a play with one, the answer is still yes, I want one. And I still think I want it on the rubber strap, even though I was surprised by how much of a noticeable gap there is where the strap meets the case. I guess it's unavoidable, but I hadn't noticed this in pictures, and I think with integrated bracelets and integrated rubber straps being so much more common, you get used to seeing these really snug-fitting straps. But as much as I want one, it's going to have to wait. We're in the process of moving house at the moment, and there's all these solicitors' fees and estate agent fees. I'm sure you've all been there. But tell me what you think of this new Black Bay 54 in the comments. Tell me what you think of smaller watches in general, and I'd love to know what the smallest watch is that you've got in your collection. And if you've enjoyed this video, please give it a like, and I'll see you on the next one.